That is the story of how my dad and I almost died on June 24th, 2023, and we are forever grateful that we're still here. Story time. I'm going to tell you about the time that my dad and I came within 60 seconds of dying. The scariest moments of my life, of our lives, I think, easily. Let's go back to June 24th, 2023. Every year, my dad and I go on backpacking trips or hiking trips. It's like a tradition. We've been doing it since I was 12, 11.
You were 12.
So we've gone on like maybe 25, 30 of these. And in 2023, we decided to go to Olympic National Park in Washington State. And we asked rangers for recommendations. That's something we wanted, a good in and out type hike, not too far. We weren't backpacking. And he recommended a hike called Pyramid Peak. And he said, you know, you go up this hill, it goes to a beautiful lake, and oh, by the way, there's this one area where you have to scramble across some rocks a little bit. Sometimes, he said, I wear gloves a little bit. So we're thinking, okay, we've done hikes where we've climbed up on granite, like no big deal, well, fine. So we're hiking on this beautiful hike, we're in the woods, and it's pretty steep, and we notice there's some pretty steep drop-offs, but there's trees everywhere. And then we get to the rock slide portion. And this wasn't just a rocky area. This was an exposed, almost like active rock slide area. Just one of the sketchiest sections of trail I think we've ever seen.
Well, I would actually call it a sand hill. All the trees were gone, the rocks were gone, the topsoil was gone. It was just sand, just the kind of sand that just disintegrates as you take a step.
Yeah, and about this steep. So we're in trees, we get to this opening, and I don't know, 150 yards across, something like that.
Maybe a little less.
And it's just this section where it's super steep, and the trail in some sections about this wide, in other sections it was almost about this wide, or maybe a little bit wider. Some parts were pretty stable, some parts were loose sand, and you're looking at about a 200 yard, 150 yard drop into rocks. So you don't want to fall. And my dad is afraid of heights.
You're not gonna look up?
Oh, God. Oh, geez.
There have been many hikes where we've gotten to sketchy parts where he's just turned around. He's not shy about saying, I don't feel comfortable with this. So
ironically, I am extremely careful about these things.
Very.
Notwithstanding what happens in this real life story.
So we get onto this trail part, and it's one at a time. So there's other hikers. I think that's important to know. This is not a quiet trail. There were actually quite a few people there. So you have to wait for people to go across. And it was our turn to go, and we start walking, and I notice it looked sketchy, and it felt even sketchier when we were walking on it. So I remember continually turning around to you, Dad, and saying, hey, Dad, are you okay? Do you want to keep going? And you had your walking stick, and you were just kind of like doggedly determined.
Well, here the key is I was looking at my feet. I was looking maybe 8 inches in front of my feet so I wouldn't look at the drop-off, trying to control my fears, trying to keep it together so I would remain reasonably coordinated and not make a mistake.
The thing about this section was, if you just scampered through it and didn't think about the drop and didn't hit us and didn't have your feet slide out from under you, you were fine. But I mean, that's like saying, you know, if you could walk a tightrope, you're fine.
Exactly.
I mean, you didn't need to be an expert mountain climber to make it through it if nothing went wrong. And I went through and I remember going through about a third or halfway, and there was an extra sketchy section where it was very narrow, and I really had to dance across it. And I was looking back at my dad saying, are you sure you want to do this? Because I was like, if I slow down in that section, this could be really bad. And I think you're just like, nope. If I remember, you're like, nope, I'm just going to keep going. You had your kind of head down with your stick, and you got to that section, and I'll never forget it. You got very uncertain all of a sudden, and that's when things started to go wrong. What happened in those moments? What did you do?
So what happened was, on my right foot, as I took a step, I'm on the edge. My foot's on the edge, and it slipped maybe a quarter of an inch. I mean, it just slipped a tiny bit. And I admit it, I panicked. I absolutely panicked. Again, my fear of heights kicked in, my fear of slopes, not exaggerating like this, kicked in, and I just sort of threw my body against the side of the hill. I lost all my balance, I lost all my stability, the adrenaline is pumping.
And that felt like the safe thing to do.
That seemed like I needed to do that to save myself. And one of the first things that I remember is near my right hand, there was a rock lodged in the sand, and I thought, oh, that's gonna be good for stability. So I grab it, and it comes loose, and it goes tumbling down the hill.
And
didn't help my feeling a bit.
A long way down.
A long way down.
So you basically were going, and you were kind of on your knees, And your knees were sort of on the trail, right? And your feet?
My knees were on the edge of the path, and my feet were down below it, which was really bad. I couldn't get traction, and I started slipping.
And your knees were starting to give way.
My knees were giving way, and the other thing is my strength was used up. I mean, I was exhausted. I had the adrenaline pumped through, and I had nothing left.
And I remember looking over at you and seeing something in you that I don't think I've ever seen, this kind of look of like, you were determined. I saw this look of real fear.
It was
in your
fear.
eyes, and so
desperation.
And you're kind of down, yeah. And I could see that your strength was giving way. So I instinctively thought, I gotta help, and I jumped down next to you, thinking, let me get down and help. I did this. I got down on my knees next to you to reach out, and I very quickly realized, that was a really, really bad move, because I was in the same situation he was. Zero traction. My knees were now at the edge of the trail, and I realized I don't even know if I can pull myself back up, and I sure as heck can't pull you up. I was like, if I try to pull, we're both pulling each other down the mountain. Yeah. So this started the scariest moments, I think, of our combined lives. Because I remember looking over at you and seeing you're 77 at the time?
76.
76 years old at the time. Yeah. And you're in good shape.
Very good shape.
But your strength is giving way. We had fairly heavy backpacks on. Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, I can't help you, and feeling this feeling of like dread. And looking down, and then it dawned on me, not only is my dad in trouble, we're both in trouble. And I remember thinking I don't remember if it was 30 seconds or 6 seconds, you have time dilation when you're in these moments, thinking like, this is it. Like, this could be it. Like, I was thinking, well, best case scenario, will be seriously injured and airlifted out. But I'm like, I don't think my dad can survive to go down 150, 200 feet down a rocky
at the end,
slope.
At the end, you don't end in the water or sand. You end crashing against trees and rocks that we could see piled up as a result of the landslide.
So I think you were kind of closing your eyes, and I remember thinking, like, a feeling I've never had before in my life of, I don't think we're gonna get out of this. I don't know how we're gonna get out of this. Oh God, like, and then I remember thinking, like, no way. Like, come on. Like, father, son are gonna die because we took one misstep on a trail that wasn't even marked as danger. Like, come on. Like, no way. This can't be how this ends. Yeah. And I was like angry. I remember thinking I was like angry, but I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I didn't have time to process it that way. I was just desperation, holding on, just trying to use my fingers.
I'm getting like cold sweats thinking about this, by the way. So I remember then like thinking, we can get help, but I was like, even if we get help from other hikers, they're just gonna fall down with us, because there's nothing for them to get treading on or to get leverage. But I remember you said, Mark, I need you to call out for help right now. Yeah. And I was like, okay, yes, sorry, let's shake out of this. Maybe someone can help us. But again, I remember, so I was like, hey, I tried to sound not panicked, although I don't know why. We may as well have sounded panicked. And I remember saying like, hey, can we get some help, please? And like, hey, please, and people immediately heard us. But again, I was thinking, even if people come to help us, what can they do? Yeah. Like, there's two guys with heavy backpacks on the edge of this sandy precipice. How are they gonna get traction? So even as we saw some people kind of very, heroically rushing over, I'm thinking like, okay, great, well, they're just gonna go down with us. That's not good. Like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna stop? Are they gonna try? We got so lucky that it just so happened that the group of hikers that we called out for help was a group of US Army soldiers and one of their buddies who's a very experienced, super athletic hiker.
We saw you guys coming across, like, we were like waiting so we could see, the other side at least, and see like the line of like people like on both sides just waiting, because it's, it's obviously super narrow. You got to let people cross, then you can go across. I remember, and I was like, it's taking a little bit longer, and I'm like, what's going on? Because we can't hear anything. Like, we couldn't hear you guys till you yelled out, and then we all kind of just looked at each other. We're like, all right, let's move.
They just fearlessly jumped over. I remember, I'll never forget it. They gallop over. They jump over me. They jump over you. This one guy digs his feet in the ground, and he's just fearless. He's like, hey, I got you. Another guy's kind of hovering over me. And I remember, I was like, help my dad, please. He's like, not in a good place. They were calm, they were collected, they dug their feet in fearlessly, grabbed your backpack, kind of lifted it off, and then immediately grabbed you, and you didn't need much, because they had that traction.
The first thing that happened is my feet are still slowly slipping, and then the guy who got to me first, he put his foot under my foot.
Wow.
So
I don't even remember
I
that.
think he had one leg up on the flat area and the other leg was just wedged under my foot.
He just dug it in. He dug it in.
Stopped me from sliding anymore,
Yeah.
and that stopped me from sliding. And I gotta say, I'm not even sure about all of this, but the memories are just confusing in a way because it was all so panicky and everything happened so fast.
Yeah.
It didn't slow down in time like you sometimes hear about.
No.
So that stabilized me, and then, as you said, he took off my backpack, which made such sense because that was weight that was pulling me down, flipped it over, and then kind of grabbed me and helped me get up. And again, all in a blur. I think it took like 10, 15 seconds when he did all of these things.
And I remember that he helped you, another guy, and then I was like, because I was looking down, like, I don't think I can hold on much longer. I'm about to like tumble down this mountain. And I was like, guys, can you help me? I tried to play it all cool, but I was actually kind of panicked inside. Yeah. And then they helped me, got my backpack off, and it didn't take much. And I think like, and all of a sudden, we're okay. Like,
well, we were okay,
like
but when I got on my feet and I had to walk back maybe 20, 30, 40 yards, I mean, I couldn't relax. I wasn't rescued then. I was walking back, leaning into the hill, afraid I was going to fall again. I was actually panicky as I was walking back. So,
okay, this has been super sketchy. It still is, and we almost just went down that. Thank you to these guys for saving us. That was nuts, and we still have a little ways to go, but this is less sketchy. So, whew, okay.
I wasn't rescued then until I walked off the mountain. Normal. Only then did I feel that I was safe.
Just to be clear, the footage doesn't do justice to how steep it was, and I mean, it was steep and it was really sketchy. And then we got off, and we obviously thanked our rescuers. We feel like our guardian angels were there.
It was really scary afterwards. We weren't thinking the same as you guys weren't thinking like, oh yeah, something bad might happen, But after this episode happened, I was like, whoa, we this is just like a God putting us in the exact place, in just one place to help you guys and to be there, because it was dangerous. I don't know how the trail was open.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how
it was
the trail
dangerous.
was yeah.
Praise the Lord that we were there and we were able to help you guys out, and now we are here telling the story.
Yeah.
It was just surreal. You have this moment of like, wow, we survived, and then it was kind of like celebratory, but also like, it was
sobering. Yeah,
sobering.
It was sobering.
We made it to this beautiful lake of victory. We're still alive and healthy and uninjured.
Scrapes, and that's all.
Thanks to our friends back there. So what a beautiful way. We're gonna have a picnic now and relax.
Celebrating life and health.
Life and health.
Woo! Relieved, exhausted, used up.
I was scared there.
Yeah, me too. Sitting there thinking, wow, did that really happen? Could that have happened? I know better. I would never let that happen. And there it did.
Yeah.
So it's a lesson to me and all of us, that you never know. One moment of lapsed judgment, of stupidity.
Yeah.
There was a moment where I was like, one or both of us could get seriously injured here. We both stopped.
And I had the adrenaline going, and it helped at first, but then it got used up. Yeah, I got all bloody.
Yeah, you were gripping for dear life with your arm.
Yeah.
So story.
So it's a memorable hike, to say the least.
Woo!
In the sense that, we both had this feeling, oh God, like we had this almost like cold sweats. I still, so to this day, when I think about it, I get like sweaty palms, and I'm usually not super scared of heights, and I've noticed in the last year, I'm trying to get over it, but now when I'm things like that, I get this, oh God, like almost anxiety or panic sometimes.
No, I've certainly just been lying in bed, and I just wake up and just like, whoa, just shaking my head, thinking back to that moment and how close. And my biggest fear in retrospect, by the way, wasn't about me. Any parent would relate to this. What if Mark died and I didn't? My life would have been just shattered. So that occurred to me, and it kind of ate me up for the longest time. It still does.
Yeah.
It still does.
So after our father-son rescue, we talked about that a lot, and that issue was, and you said to me point blank later, if you had gone down with me, I would have been so pissed.
Yeah.
Like basically saying, Mark, you're a freaking idiot for getting down and trying.
That's
but
right.
What are you going to do? You can't like see your father.
No, it's not that rational when you.
But I thought, we both thought about that a lot of like, you can't fathom how quickly things can go from normal to, oh God, I'm about to die. one thing going wrong in the wrong spot, it's amazing how quickly the day went from totally normal and mundane to this is it. This could be it.
To life-threatening, life-shattering.
And to be clear, every day that you get in your car, you experience risks like that, and we do it all the time. But it's very rarely staring you in the face and seeing. I will never forget this one was looking into your eyes, and that look in your eyes I've never seen before, and happily I've never seen since. And just this fear of I don't think we can get out of this, and it was.
I did not think we were getting out of it.
It was sobering to see you as very vulnerable in a way I don't think I've ever seen before. And that realization that the worst thing that could have happened is that we both go. That obviously logically you would want me to live on, so grandkids for you and keep our family going. But you're going to not save your parent if you can. Here's a picture that we kind of
gives a sense of the angle.
Yeah, we don't look at this. You did have this up in your office. You decided not to have it up because it reminds us of almost dying.
I got some good advice from her friend saying, don't put that up. It's just going to shake you up and give you kind of negativity every single day. And he was right. So I've put that photo away.
I mean, we're estate planners. So we help people plan for the unexpected and deal with death and illness and to make sure you're covered. And it did impact how I see this in the sense that I'm talking about these eventualities of families now. I have this visceral feeling of how quickly it can happen.
It's more real.
And how important it is to plan. I mean, not to make this an estate planning pitch, but it hit home how quickly things can change. To this day, I'm haunted by that moment, but it also is a reminder of just how precious life is. And, we deal with death a lot. You over your 40 years as an estate planner, my 11 years, we've both gotten to know a lot of people who have passed away. I mean, this week I just got a note that a client I knew for years just passed away, and now it feels much more real. And I faced death in other ways. My cancer journey a few years ago, and so I've faced different versions of death. But it helps me in talking to families about this stuff because it's real. But I'm just so I'm thankful for our guardian angels. I'm thankful that you're here and for all our adventures. I didn't want it to end that day.
Yeah, and here we are going forward. Life to live.
We're happy to be safe and alive.
What a story. So stay safe, everybody. I mean, just stay safe. If you're in a risky thing, try to avoid those situations if you can. But if you're in one, please pray that you're near some U.S. Army men and women who happen to be hiking near you. Thank you, U.S. Army. Thank you, Santiago, Casey, the other rescuers we had. Thank you. We feel so lucky to be here. So